Today we're going to talk about cleaning and repairing a Smith & Wesson 32 caliber safety hammerless pistol. Some refer this to as the lemon squeezer. On my pistol, I had trouble with the extractor pin going back into the gun. It would just stick out and wouldn't go back. Also, my trigger spring would not return, so I knew there was a spring broken and something going on with the ejector cam to make sure that ejector pin would retract. So this is as far as I took the gun apart. And you can see most of the pieces are here. The pearl handle parts are not shown, but I was able to find repair parts at Numerich, which they have a bunch of different older guns parts that you can order based on make, model, Smith & Wesson, all the main manufacturers of the guns. Check that out if you need parts. I found them very helpful. Taking the gun apart is really tricky. If it's a real old gun, some of the screws and nuts are probably rusted on there. I oiled all the nuts and the screws extensively for days and days and days and just let it soak. I also used a small screwdriver to tap on the bolts or the nuts. Sometimes that will loosen up the corrosion that's holding them there. Just make sure you don't strip them out or strip the screws. Take your time. I first soaked the handles. I got the handles off and then just soaked inside the gun, all the parts. I really lubricated everything and just let it sit for days before I tried to remove any of the other bolts and mechanisms inside the gun. The first thing I did is I took the barrel off. Notice the hash mark. There's a way to line that up, and also make sure you get the hash mark in the slot when you're putting it back together. But essentially you unscrew it, not all the way, and then you take a small just take something and tap on the screw to pop out that nut on the back side. You can take that off then completely, and then the barrel actually slides out. Removing the cylinder is a little tricky. There is a little lever on top of the barrel there. You'll see my finger. Pushing it, that lifts the lever, and then you can unscrew the cylinder. After you get the cylinder off, then you can use a small straight edge screwdriver and sort of push down on the cam, and that will slide out of the barrel. As you can see, be careful because there's two springs and slider bars on it. That's what makes that ejector pin go back and forth based on the spring mechanism. Be careful, those can pop out and they're very small, very hard to find if that happens. To remove the trigger guard, you have to either pull and release the trigger, or there's a little spring inside the gun there the arrow's pointing to. You can use a screwdriver, push that, and then that will allow you to slide the trigger back without actually having the fire pin engage. So the trigger guard is actually a big spring. If you sort of grab the gun from the front and you use your index finger and pull, you'll see it flexes. You have to pull it enough to where it pops out of the latch, which is sort of that second picture. Two different views there. And then you just take it out and it will reveal the trigger spring. Mine was actually broke, so it just fell out. But note the assembly and the orientation. There is a top and a bottom. If you get it in backwards, you won't be able to get your trigger guard back on when you assemble the gun. After you have everything disassembled, clean it with gun cleaner as much as you can. I couldn't get the corrosion off my gun. I don't think it was ever cleaned from day one. It came from my great-grandpa Jim, so I don't think he cleaned it. I don't think my dad cleaned it. I ended up using an ultrasonic cleaner and just cleaned each part individually for about 10 minutes with the ultrasonic cleaner on about 60 degrees centigrade. So that seemed to work real well. It cleaned up my gun. I reassembled. It came out great, and with the parts I got from Numerich, I can now shoot the gun with the correct loads. So happy shooting, and I hope this helps you.